Hi, I'm Novel Mike, and this is my opinion. So, Mario Odyssey is finally out, and to be short, I love it. It's a fantastic game that we really haven't gotten for a long time. There's been like Mario 3D World, Mario 3D Land, and stuff like that, but they haven't felt like true 3D Mario games. This is the first real proper 3D Mario game since Galaxy 2, and oddly enough, it really feels more like a sequel to Mario 64 than any other game in the series. And rightfully so. The design around having bigger, more open worlds instead of linear levels certainly makes this game stand out as more of a sequel to either 64 or Sunshine than it does the Galaxy games, or any of the other 3D Mario offerings. For the most part, though, the game is pretty standard when it comes to its story. Bowser's kidnapped Peach, you gotta go save her. It is a little bit different this time around with Bowser actually trying to marry Peach, and essentially the journey is about Mario chasing Bowser down as he goes through various kingdoms, which are the game's levels, trying to obtain various items he wants for his big wedding, like a dress, a giant ring, etc. It works. It's a little bit more interesting, at least than the standard Mario fare, and it was nice to see every kingdom have this unique little treasure that makes them special, and it helps make each kingdom feel more identifiable because of that. The gameplay, though, is where the game truly shines. This is a Mario game. You don't really care too much about story in Mario games. You're playing it because the game is fun to play. And this Mario game does something truly different when it comes to just the freedom of what it lets you accomplish. One of the newer things that's been added is this mechanic with your cap where you can throw it and you actually can jump on top of it and basically use it as an extra jump, essentially. And you can actually use it to somewhat break the game in certain situations. If you look up videos online where there's people just completely doing crazy long jumps and stuff like that to get to areas that you normally would not be able to without some other thing that you can do. The main change in this game, though, is the capturing mechanic. So instead of traditional power-ups like the Fire Flower and the Star and stuff like that, in this game, when Mario throws his at certain enemies or objects, he actually can take control of them. And so if you throw it at, for example, a Paragoomba, you can then actually fly around and you're controlling that Paragoomba. And it's pretty cool because every thing that you capture has some kind of unique ability to it. Paragoombas can fly. There's the fireballs, which are one of the more common Mario enemies that you see in dungeons and stuff like that. And then when you take control of those, you can leap out of the lava and travel through the lava, and it really makes some exploration areas really fun. And every single thing that you can capture really adds to the variety of the game. The gameplay never feels old because there's something new around every corner, because even if you're doing some kind of remedial task, generally it's going to revolve around doing something different than you weren't doing just 5 minutes ago. And so it helps keep the entire game feel relatively fresh and easy to get into and keep playing, because you have that freedom to do whatever you want. Because unlike in previous games, this game doesn't have very clear set objectives. You're not running to the end of each area to get a star, although there are certain stars, or moons in this case, that are like that. Most of the time, the moons are everywhere. Like, the first real big kingdom you get to is the Sand Kingdom, and it is a huge kingdom. And there's like 50 stars in that place when you first get there. You can't get them all right away, but you can get a lot of them right away. And it's just amazing to see how many moons you can really get. And it definitely feels like the game is much bigger than ever before. The total moons is actually close to 900 that you can get, and it's insane just how big this game really ends up being and how much there is to do. It's not perfect, though. As much as I want to throw praise on the game, there are a few issues. For one thing, the motion controls. The controls themselves are fine. Like, you can do motion controls if you want. You can use your controller if you want. But the problem ends up becoming that you essentially have this point where if you want to use certain attacks and abilities with your cap throw, you can only do them with motion controls. For example, there's the spin attack Mario can do, which can take out multiple small enemies at once, which is really useful in certain situations, but you can only use it with motion controls. So there's no button command for it. Added onto this, some buttons are actually reused for jumping and other stuff, where it feels like they should have let you have more customization options in the controls, and if they would have had a way to map certain abilities like that to buttons or a set of buttons, it would have really helped to make that game feel like it isn't forcing motion controls on you. On top of that, I think the difficulty in the game before you get to the post game is really easy. There's only a few areas that really seem challenging at all, and it's mostly in an annoying kind of challenging way, not because it's actually hard. There are some great challenges post game though, which is where the difficulty really shines, but pre that, which is quite a bit of time, it's fairly easy to get through the game without too much trouble. Also, 2 of the kingdoms feel small. And you'll understand when you get to those, because they're mainly used for just boss fights, and then you basically get out of there. They're really interesting ideas for kingdoms, though, and it feels like they were cut for time more than anything else, and that they couldn't turn these into these big, huge locations like other worlds, which would have been awesome, because one of them looks so cool, and I wanted it to be a full level, and there's like 5 moons there, and I was so disappointed. There's a really great boss fight there, but it just... I wanted that to be such a bigger kingdom, and you'll know what it is when you get to it. Trust me on that, and I will not say anything more to avoid spoilers. When it comes down to it, though, despite the minor complaints I have, this game is amazing. And like many games, I think what that comes down to is Nintendo's attention to detail with the game. So every little facet of this game has some unique thing to it. Like, there's a dog that you can find in certain kingdoms, and if you throw your hat, he'll grab it and he'll play fetch with you because of that. Like, he'll help you track down moons too, but it's just one of those things, like, you know, all these unique attention to details. If you run over a smokestack or get burned or something, Mario will have soot on his face from getting burned or running into the smokestack. If you run into a cactus, he'll have little needles sticking out of his nose and stuff like that. It's just really smart attention to detail that just adds so much charm and personality to the game that you don't see in many other games, especially platformers. Also, the art style is just on point. Like, there's some levels that I think have conflicting art styles, but I think it still works overall because it still feels like, you know, Mario's entering a kingdom he normally wouldn't go in. This is its own unique little place and world, and you're kind of entering there as, you know, a foreigner, essentially. And so yeah, he's not going to look like everybody else, but it really does work, and it helps to make every little thing in each kingdom feel unique and different. And on top of that too, the music is just outstanding. There's some tracks I think that could have been a little bit better, but overall, no complaints about the music. The opening and ending themes are so good, and there's several times where the music has a highlight during gameplay, and it is on point in just an outstanding way. Also, one thing that's nice that personally did not help me, but I did hear this helping parents with younger kids, the worlds in this game are pretty huge, and they do have this assist feature which can help out younger kids who may feel like these worlds and the tasks that you're trying to do are at times overwhelming. It doubles, or it upgrades Mario's life to... Actually, I think it just doubles Mario's life, and it gives you like a guide feature where it kind of clues the kids in on where to go, so it doesn't feel like they're getting stuck or lost and getting frustrated because of that. It's not something that most players are going to need, at least adult players like myself, but it's good for kids, and I think that is a much better thing to use than what Mario games have used in the past, with these little features that just basically let you skip the level, or it plays the level for you, and instead just guides you helpfully towards where you need to go, and still letting the kids figure everything out if it's too hard for them. There's also a ton of previous Mario game callbacks. Like, there is in Donkey Kong as well. Like, New Donk City has so many references to Donkey Kong, both the original game and the series, the Donkey Kong Country series in general. It's just so good. That's where you'll find Pauline, which has been featured in a lot of the trailers and stuff like that. And I just have to say, like, every little facet of this game just knows the audience that it's catering to. And one of the first things you get to do in the post-game is such a love letter to Mario 64 fans. I think some people may lose their minds when they first get to it. I know I did. I know watching a few people who streamed the game, they were losing it. And it's not like a huge thing, but it's just a nice attention to detail. And it feels really special for those of us who have been fans of the series for such a long time. In general, the post-game, though, is amazing. I think that's probably the best part of this game. I wouldn't say you need to rush to get to it, but it does feel like the most in-depth post-game that we've seen in previous Mario, in any of the Mario games. It doesn't like, all the games have challenges as post games for the most. I can't talk. Almost all the games have some kind of challenge in the post game at some point, but I think this game really stands out at doing a great job in making you feel like there's still so much more to do once you've beaten the game. There's new costumes to unlock. Oh, that's one thing I've talked about with costumes. We'll get to that in a second. There's new areas to go to. There's every world gets a ton of more stuff to do in it. Like, there is such a good, well thought out system to make the end of the game not feel like the end of the game, and truly to make you feel like, man, that game was fun. I just want to keep playing it though. And then Mario's new ally Cappy is like, man, we had a lot of fun, but I really wish it wasn't over. So let's go continue again. And that's how I felt. And I just loved every minute of it. To talk quickly about costumes, though, costumes are in this game. Every single world has these purple coins you collect, which are specific to that stage and to that kingdom. And then you collect normal gold coins as well, and both of those can be used for costumes and other stuff, collectible stuff as well. And the costumes in general range from being like palette swaps from like other Mario characters, like you can get a little Luigi outfit and stuff like that. Other ones are pretty crazy, like there's Caveman Mario, and there's Astronaut Mario and stuff like that. Like, there's a lot of variety to the costumes that you can get, and it's pretty cool too, because one thing that I've been a big complainer about is locking certain content behind amiibos. Like in Breath of the Wild, there's all these costumes that you can get, but you can only get them via amiibos if you have certain amiibos. In this game, you do have to get to the post game. You do have to unlock them by getting a certain amount of stars, but they are all there, including the 3 new Mario amiibos for this game with the various wedding outfits for Bowser, Peach, and Mario. You can unlock those all in the game itself, even if you don't buy the amiibos. It's just in the post game, basically. And it is, at times, quite a few moons to get, but it's worth it. It does feel like there's something, at least there's still something to continue to move you forward, even after you've got the main game done, to keep seeing new things. And that's really what I think is most special about this game, is that it just it enriches you playing it. There's so many little secrets to find that aren't even necessary. Like, when you do certain jumps and you can get to certain areas that you're not supposed to, almost always there's some kind of coins up there, some kind of reward saying, hey, cool, you figured out how you could do this. That's awesome. Here's some coins. Here's 200 coins for you. Like, that's awesome. There's so many games that, you know, go out of their way to just try to make it so you can't get out of bounds or can't go around the way that they, you know, wanted you to go. This game rewards people for really trying to figure that stuff out for themselves and really exploring every inch of the worlds that you see. So overall, Mario Odyssey is a fantastic game. I loved it. It is definitely one of the biggest killer hits on the Switch, and God, this is a good first year for the Switch, along with Zelda. If you don't have this game, if you don't have a Switch, this is a good reason to jump in. This is probably one of my favorite Mario games, and I think everyone should play it. Overall, if you want to talk scores, I say the game is a 9 out of 10 for how I grade games. If I'm thinking more of what it is for certain people, though, if I were to give it a range, it's between an 8 and a 10, depending on how much like the motion controls or the lack of difficulty might bother you. I think it might bring it down for some people. If that doesn't bother you, though, and you don't care about the motion controls because you're going to be playing that way anyway, then you're probably going to think it's a 10. But for me personally, I can't reward it that high because there are issues with the game. It is fantastic, though, and I loved every minute of it, and I'm probably going to go play it after I finish making this video, so that tells you something. Anyway, I am Novel Mike. That was my opinion. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Have a great day. Bye. Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed watching this video. I don't normally do reviews, but Mario Odyssey felt like something that would be fun to do for a review. If you guys like this and want me to do stuff like this in the future, let me know. It's not something I really planned on doing or really have, an idea of something I want to do in the future, but if, people like it, then something I can try doing more of. I do have other stuff on the way. Unfortunately, various problems have occurred over the last couple months, and I lost all my footage for my original Pokemon Nuzlocke, which was more than halfway done. So, yeah, I had to restart that, and I decided to do a different Pokemon game because I just didn't want to redo the exact same thing I had just done. So I'm working on that now, and look forward to start seeing that soon. Thanks.